But Bridget is a starseed. She's a channel and a multidimensional medium. Her star lineage includes the Pleiadian, Sirian, Arcturian, Lyran, Andromedan, Auroran, amongst others. Bridget is an Ascension contact specialist and a Galactic Ambassador for the Council of Light. She is an international beyond quantum healing hypnosis practitioner and awakening and ascension mentor who specializes in mentoring starseeds in their ascension journey. When working with starseeds, Bridget helps them to remember who they are and that they have trained lifetimes for what they're doing here. This includes discovering where they're from, what their specializations are, conscious expansion, and embracing deep relationships with their cosmic star families. Connect with Bridget and her soul star through her community you can find on ascensioncatalyst.com. So, Miss Bridget, I want to go ahead and bring you up and welcome you this morning. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, good morning. I'm so excited.
Hi. I'm having a hard time. Here we go. I finally found the spotlight. There you are. So,
Hello,
welcome.
hello, everybody.
So, you're coming to us from Texas now. I was getting ready to say Florida.
Dallas, Texas. Yes.
All
So
right.
I've moved back home. So it
Wonderful.
is a beautiful, cloudy, slightly chilly day today.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being here. And I also want to give you a shout out of thanks for always helping to promote the Galactic Alliance on Monday and Thursday nights through the Awaken Ascending pods. Well, I don't know if you call them pod house or chat rooms, but anyway, on Clubhouse. So you can tell everybody about that. Thanks so much.
It's just a drop-in audio only app that we've created a community on. So hello, everybody. Sheila, last night was amazing. I just want to say that before I get started. If you guys missed that, I highly recommend catching it on Conscious Awakening Network and watching the amazing speakers. And Stone, I think, is here from that last night. She was amazing. Love Stone. So what I want to do today is just describe my walk-in journey and then talk a bit about the access that it allowed me to really deepen within my own high knowingness and what I'm here to do in the world. And there might be a slight, for those of you that are really sensitive to people exiting themselves, please consider this a mild trigger warning, because that's where my journey with my walk-in experience began. So I was born into this world with a really 5D blueprint, with a very much a unity consciousness blueprint, and being awakened and open and accessing my innate ability to connect and communicate with beings that other people couldn't see. And what ended up happening is this most beautiful relationship with the Angelics, who I like to lovingly say they raised me. So with my parents, of course, but I had some early trauma, and in this early trauma, there were a series of events that happened throughout my preteen and teenage life that also kind of added to that trauma. And so in my late teens, early 20s, I was living in a world that I didn't understand. I could not, it's like the aspects of our consciousness that understand how the 3D world works in very fundamental, basic ways. I didn't understand that. And no amount of anyone explaining things or me trying to understand was making those connections for me. So it's like I came in with one understanding of how to be and exist into a world that was inside out. And that's kind of how it felt for me. And I remember being a very, very tiny, like 2-year-old and tapping into the collective consciousness. And my team, what I like to call soul team, you guys can think guides plus, would give me information. My high self would give me information. And I remember sensing that everyone was like me, but they were asleep. And that is how I felt most of my life. in a beautiful way, I had a lot of friends that were intuitive. And so, though they didn't always see and experience everything I did, over the years, they were sprinkled into my life to really help me feel like I fit in. And even though I had the largest group I'd ever had of that in my late teens, early 20s, I still felt so alone. And for those of you that are starseeds and probably walk-ins, you'll understand that alone feeling and that homesickness. I had that for sure. I didn't know that I was a starseed yet, though. I had no awakening within my consciousness of those aspects. And I reached this point of deep despair because I couldn't fit into this world, and I didn't feel I could, rather. And I didn't understand how to make it work. And it felt like everything that I knew within me, deep within me, to connect everyone, there was this inner nudge to do that, I was doing, but it never felt like enough. And there was this despair that I fell into over a few years. Um, and I finally reached this point of no hope. And when I reached the point of no hope, I had it in my mind that, well, maybe it's time to exit. And so when you're in a point of despair, for those of you that have experienced this, there's no light in the world. There's no light that you can see. It feels really dense and heavy. And it feels like, obviously, when you're in a lack of hope, like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I was deep in that. And so I decided, and obviously there's a happy ending here, right? But I decided to exit. And because I had access to a lot of my high knowingness, I had experienced many people who were about to cross over. And so I had witnessed what I like to call the waiting room. And I had, communicated with people who were in that moment of about to, exit this life into the next whatever for them. And I had experienced, the groups of people and beings from all of their expressions, not just this particular life that they were living, coming into the waiting room, their angelics, their family, their galactic family, everybody in there with them, where they had this like cord connecting them to their body. And so I was like, I accessed my high knowingness and I thought, okay, I know how to do this. And so I created this room. There was already like a dimensional space for it. And I just held the intention for it to fully create. And it was this beautiful white energy space. And I started to pull my consciousness up into it. And as I was pulling my consciousness up into it, I had this moment of, okay, I don't want to do anything just yet. I want to see if I really want to do this before I do anything. I want to give myself an out, right? If I wanted it. And so I was still undecided as I was doing all of this. I was leaning toward exiting, but I was undecided. And right when I made the decision, I had pulled pretty much all of my consciousness into this waiting room. And I had this intention of, okay, I'm ready. As soon as I had didn't even complete those thoughts, it felt like my soul got slapped by a ruler. It ricocheted through my soul. The space that I had created turned like deep burgundies and red, and there was this booming, almost like an angel voice that came in. And it was like, you cannot do this, but in like a super boomy voice that like radiated throughout all of my essence, right? And me being who I was at that moment, very, very sassy and over it, right? I started arguing. And I had this big argument with them where I was like, words I can't say on here. I was like, that's and forget that kind of stuff, right? Because they were telling me that I didn't have permission to exit at that time. And I was like, well, if you want me to stay, we started negotiating. They started calming down, like the angel voice, right? And I started negotiating with them, going, okay, if you want me to stay, these are the things that are non-negotiable for me. I need to have a deep understanding of this third dimensional expression and how to live in it in a way that is comfortable and that makes sense to me. I also want access to all of this information. And I just went down this list of things that were non negotiable for me. And the answer was yes to every single one. Then the next thing I know, I am experiencing myself in deep communication with my high self, counsels, and also with what feels like aspects of my soul. And I don't remember exactly what we were communicating about. But when I woke up, it was 3 days later. My body had slept for 3 days. And during that time, my team has told me that my body was being activated. And on a cellular level, DNA level, after I actually found out that I was a walk-in, I used to call it a step-in experience because I didn't know about walk-ins until I met Sheila. And she was like, honey, you know you're a soul infused walk-in, right? And I was like, oh, I had no idea. But that's what had happened. So I had an infusion. I woke up with a profound sense of hope that had expanded so much. My light, my inner fire was so bright. My light was just, I can't even describe how much love was available. It's like my heart and all of my cells had been cleared out from all of that density that I was carrying within myself. And I had this knowingness that I had had these deep conversations that where things were being explained in almost like a finite detail, like to the most small aspect of this world. But it was almost like when you receive a download and you know it's going to unpack over time. I had that sensation of, I understand a lot more now. Like it feels different in my consciousness. And I feel like I can do this in a way that I hadn't before. But I still didn't know everything. And I knew that it was going to come in over time. So it felt really good. And right around that time, we were having what I like to call the kickstart to the Ascension. And everything was already heightened within my senses, but it went at times like 1,000. So all of my soul senses, what I like to call our soul senses, which is like the clairs, your telepathic ability, your empathic ability, psychic ability, all of those things, had completely magnified overnight for me. So I was receiving downloads upon downloads upon downloads. And then I had this experience. I was hanging out with some friends, and there was this amazing energetic drop in that expanded my consciousness. Like, I don't even know how much, all simultaneously. It felt like love, it felt like joy, and it felt like deep, deep wisdom. And in that moment, I didn't know that it was an aspect of my soul. I could feel a soul connection, but we didn't have labels like this, or at least I didn't at that time. So I just understood that everything that I had requested was suddenly available to me, that it felt like more of my soul was in my human experience. I had much more light. I had instantaneous deep access to all of the knowledge and wisdom that I reached for, to the point that it would create a visual of what it was. So if I was asking about how the cosmos works, or if I was asking about um, some deep information about multidimensionality, suddenly it was available almost as if my entire soul was a third eye, being able to look at every bit of information from all of these different angles. And my soul team always worked in connection with all of this. So as I would be viewing from one perspective lens, I would have my soul team also bring in another. It was almost like if you had a beach ball and you were looking at one angle, and then you would spin it and see it from another and another and another and another. And so this would happen in seconds or minutes. Sometimes when it was a lot of information, it would happen in a lot, a longer period of time, right? But what this did for me was it gave me this profound understanding of who we are. And of course, that has evolved and expanded as I have since then, right? But it gave me this understanding of just how multidimensional each and every one of us are. And a really profound understanding of that knowingness that I had from a very, young age, that I'm here to connect people and help people. It really brought in a lot of my soul's purposes and missions, and understanding how we all have those, and really understanding how I can assist others to connect with that knowingness inside of each of us. And I've been doing that ever since. I did have a moment in my life where they showed me, my team and my high self showed me a timeline of myself that was way too big for my comfort zone. So I did go into sort of a self-imposed hibernation, where I kind of stuck it out until that timeline was extinct. But I just have to say, it was a really beautiful 21 years of my life. So it wasn't something that just came in and left. All of this, when I was walking down the street, I remember for years this was the way it was. I would be walking, and everyone around me, it's like everyone was an open book, especially when it first started, before I had kind of set some parameters in my energetic technology for this, which we all have the ability to do. I would be walking down the street, and all of a sudden, I would just receive everything about everyone, anyone around me in the near vicinity. I was 100% open at that time. And what I began to observe is the people in my life who were not in this, they were not awakened like we are right now, right? Many of them, most of them, they had, at that point, most people had just barely began awakening the slumbering aspects of their consciousness. And so they would be around me for 15, 30 minutes, and they would start seeing things and feeling things and experiencing things. And it would really freak them out, because this was not something that they wanted, nor were they ready for, quote, quote, ready for, right? We all know everything happens for a reason. But what I ended up doing was turning the volume down on myself, on my soul senses. So the experience was that I was experiencing about 50% of my expansion that I was. So I turned the volume down, right? And then people would see things, but not as much, right? And not as like fully formed and different things like that. It would be more like shadows in their peripheral visions and stuff like that. And then I many years went by, and I would kind of incrementally check into it, and I would turn it up just a little bit here and there. And then I checked into it at one point, because I recognized that the light quotient on the planet was much higher. The people around me were starting to experience more. And I looked at my energetics, and I realized, oh, my high self had turned my percentage up, right? And so I was like, okay, that's good. This is a good thing. And it was shortly after that. I mean, it's many years. We're talking, I don't even want to put a number on it, but many, many, many years. Shortly after that, when I was in that self-imposed, like just ostrich moment with my timeline, when I checked the light quotient, because I received updates on our collective light quotient, I woke up that morning, received it, checked it, looked into the collective consciousness, and noticed that my frequency had been turned, or I don't know how to describe it. It's like I can turn the volume down on the amount of expansion that is experienced in my life. So the amount of soul that is experienced in my life, it's still there, but it's like I'm dimming it for everyone around me. And it does slightly dim it a little bit for myself. So I'd recognize that that had been turned up. It felt much more expansive. And then shortly after that, I felt this feeling as if part of me had left. And it was so traumatic. The whole experience, it quite literally felt like I had a huge part of my soul evacuate, and maybe with like a higher guide going at the same time. And I was traumatized. I didn't know what was happening. It had been 21 years since that step in experience. And it brought on this immense dark night of the soul for me, where I didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel fully in this human expression again. So it was similar frequencies to where I had been before, except for I still had all of this access still, right? To information and knowledge and wisdom and my high knowingness and things like that. And it didn't dawn on me that the two were connected, the two experiences were connected. And that dark night of the soul really kind of spurred me and was, well, it was before it moved me into motion and action within myself. It also combined with the pressure I was feeling from waiting that timeline out, right? And my high self and my soul team and everyone around me, even though they didn't understand what I was doing, I knew what I was doing. Everyone kept pushing me out of that zone, right? And I was getting really depressed because I was still holding myself outside of my flow and what I'm here to do, right? Out of fear. And also out of I just don't want to experience some of the trauma that they had showed me. And I was like, I've had enough in my life. So my free will kind of trumped that. My high self allowed that to happen. But then when my walk-in, my soul infused walk-in stepped part of themselves out, that aspect of my soul, I had this huge dark night of the soul that really did end up pushing me out of that inertia that I've been keeping myself in with regards to my missions and purposes. I was still doing them in the lives of people that I know and that I interacted with, but not to the degree of what I've come here to be and do, right? So it was actually a beautiful experience. And with time, I started to really feel that fullness of soul again through intention of embodying my high self and my soul and bringing more of it, having sacred practices that enable me to expand even further into my remembrance of who I am and why I'm here and what I'm here to do to be of service. So it was this interesting, like 20 steps back to come into fullness of myself and what I'm here to do and how I can really assist others to remember who you are and what you're here to do and be. And I still have that deep access to all of the knowledge and wisdom. It may not feel sometimes as bold when I observe it. It can often be subtle, but because I've been doing this for so long, and this is kind of a tip for anyone that is really opening into your awakening and consciousness expansion journey and diving deeper, when people who have been actively channeling or accessing information, bring through information, um, it's not always super intense and bold like you might think. Sometimes it's subtle, but because we've been doing this for so long, we trust it and it doesn't matter to us if it's a really almost like faint bit of information based on what we've been doing that day and how distracted we are, or if it's super bold and bright and like in living color, so to speak, information that's coming in. We trust it and we just deliver it because we have tuned ourselves to being able to just hone in on whatever loudness level we'll say that information is that we're tapping into and receiving. So that's a little bit of information that just came through as I was talking about all of this. I think the main thing that my walk-in experience showed me is how beautiful and infinite we are, and how each of us has access to the knowledge and wisdom of our soul. And how Sheila, yesterday, if you were here for that, she really talked about and showed a slide of the expression of source, is what I would call it. I don't remember what you called it, Sheila, but it was so beautiful. And that's actually how I see it. We are of so many different soul groups that is connected in a unity field, a oneness field, in an oversoul. And we can think of our soul group as, like, I love to say this, like a giant white column that splits off into bigger columns. And then our soul is experiencing itself as if there are all of these little white filaments, right, coming off in all of these dimensional expressions, but not just the dimensional expressions. There are also expressions that are outside of the dimension. There are also multi-universal expressions. We're experiencing ourselves in all of these simultaneously, right? And so we, through our high selves, have access to all of that high knowingness, all of that wisdom and knowledge, and anything that is appropriate for us, we can request for that information to be anchored into, like to drop in for us and be integrated and anchored into this human expression. And that's what I help people remember. There is something about shifting the limiting perspectives that we have, that self-judgment, self-loathing, scarcity, lack, all of that limitation, the belief that we are not lovable, and the forgetting of our wholeness and our unity with one another. There's something about moving through that, through shifting perspectives, that enables us to really open the door to our high knowingness, that knowledge and wisdom of our soul, of all of our lives and expressions that are appropriate for us in this life, that are within the human earth experience and beyond. And within all of this, there's this deep understanding of our sovereignty that begins to formulate within our consciousness. We begin to remember that we are here for so many things, experience being one of the primary things, but that we're here to shift what it means to be human in the earth experience from this moment in humanity's timeline, so to speak. And as we do that, it's rippling throughout all of our human existences, what we would consider past, present, and future. So as we do the healing, as we do the deep dive into releasing all of the things that no longer serve us, that we have adopted in from other people, from just observation of life, but also that we've created based on not having the full picture, right? Or in that moment, who we were and who we were choosing to be, that this is the moment where we get to set all of that down. We get to heal it. We get to say, okay, this was true for me then. I honor it with all of me for everything that I have experienced through this. And now I choose differently. I choose to place my time, attention, my energy, my focus. I choose to place all of that in a different aspect that uplifts, supports, and expands not only me, but everyone around me and the entire Earth Collective. We're in that moment right now. That empowerment enables us to start to consciously create our reality. Now, it's not always like just butterflies and rainbows just because we do this, right? We might still have moments of deep intensity and contrast. They might even hold pain, but we don't have to hold ourselves in the pain and suffering anymore. We get to really just liberate ourselves by how we choose within our own consciousness to perceive those experiences, but also how we choose to allow them to be what they are without bringing in our history, her story, their story back into this now moment. And it's the way we perceive that shifts everything. So instead of assuming the worst, we can understand that everything is conspiring to support us. We can understand, as everybody likes to say, which I really love that. We can begin to shift our understanding of how our external reality is reflecting our inner landscapes. So when we have that knowingness of this is a reflection, what is it showing me? We can start to ask questions about what our truth really is and what these experiences and these connections with other people are bringing to the light of our awareness, right? So then we're empowered because we get to choose. We get to decide what it means for us or nothing, right? It doesn't have to mean anything. We don't have to assign the label. We don't have to give it a deeper meaning. We can just allow it to be an experience, much like we did when we were small children, right? Really, before trauma, think back to your life. When things happened that were uncomfortable or painful, we would have it in the moment, we would express our feelings, and we would move on to the next, right? And it wasn't until those big, deep traumas that we started observing how everyone else handled their trauma, because we were always in observation mode, and then adopting their ways into us, right? So just as we've adopted that into us, we can also choose something different. And yes, it takes practice sometimes. And yes, it takes dedication to our sacred practices of choice. And sometimes our life, because of these patterns that we've created through the beliefs and the stories, solidifying those into our reality, they created these unconscious and conscious loops of these experiences and patterns and connections and relationship commonalities. Because those are so ingrained, because we've practiced and practiced and practiced at them until we're excellent at that pain and suffering and those experiences, it might take a minute to reprogram, reframe, choose, continue to affirm that we're choosing this. And there are times that our high self will bring those experience, something similar flavor back in for us to reaffirm, yes, I'm still choosing to a life of grace and ease and effortless flow. I'm still choosing that everything gets to be easier and that everything is supporting me. And the more we make those choices, the more we decide that within ourselves, the more we're in our love space, the more connected we feel to our soul, the more our heart is expanded, the more our interactions start to reflect that, the more we magnetize in people who are of similar heart and mind, the more we connect with others who are doing beautiful things in the world within their own lives, but also in service to others. And it's this ripple effect. And as we hold more of our soul light and as we choose more of our love light, then the people around us, we're designed to frequency match. So they start to elevate in vibration without even having to do anything. And we become more and more magnetic, more and more expansive for the people around us. And that is truly why I've just started a community called Ascension Catalyst. To me, the ascension journey happens within and is reflected in external reality. And because we are all connected in this beautiful unity field, this beautiful consciousness field that brings us all together, if we allow that aspect of ourselves to shine through, and when we hold the intention to be that connection, when all of that happens, this is like a beautiful, it's like the wave in a stadium. I don't know how else to describe it. Or like if the earth is this beautiful still water and all these pebbles get dropped in and these ripples come out from each of us. That's what we do. And each person that ripples gets activated because they have their own permission slips with us and other people, as we do with others. And it's this beautiful mass awakening. We're seeing it now. And the more of us that go into this, the more are expanding. Every day, the light quotient on the planet is becoming brighter. Every day, the expansion of our planet is becoming brighter. And that's why we're seeing so much contrast and intensity, because those people who are not ready, which is totally fine, we all do this at our own pace. It's like this pressure cooker that is building that pressure inside of them. Because just as I had my dark night of the soul moment and that pressure from my team, everyone is receiving that in a slightly different way who is ready to awaken but might be dragging their feet, right? And it's all part of the process. So also there's something beautiful about that unity connection, and I'm sure this is validation for a lot of you. I can feel the expansiveness of this, the people, all of you beautiful family members who have joined us. But there's something beautiful about that unity consciousness that really dials us in to the ability to begin to shift this planet from within this experience. And there are many timelines at play right now. I receive timeline updates quite often for the collective, and also, as you can tell from my story earlier, for myself. But the collective timelines that are really, it's like you can think of it of like bundles of energy cords, right? That's kind of how I see them. And they kind of converge to make these enormous bundles. And the two that have been really neck and neck, right? Really tied closely together right now is the bifurcation of world sort of timeline that's already been prepared from a higher perspective for all of us. And also the build it where we are, build it in this expression, build it and shift it and change it from within. That's the one I really am rooting for personally, that I am holding space for within my consciousness. Though I'm not attached to either of them, that's the one that I hold dear in my heart and hope that we are able to really dive into, because for me it's this enormous transformation that we get to experience. And I know that there have been some ripplings in the consciousness community about some extinct timelines, and my team's bringing through right now. They would like to kind of put those to rest for those of you that are here to receive this. There were some really cataclysmic timelines in play back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Gaia and all of us as a collective have chosen to go a different route. So there are still remnants within the collective consciousness of these timelines. And my team and all of the soul teams, if you tap in, you'll be able to access that information. They're extinct now. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't potential timelines in play where there can be intensity and contrast. We're looking at that right now. But the wiping out of the majority of humanity on the planet currently is not in play with regards to the timelines. And my team is saying this, I feel like, because there are people that will be listening to that have been hearing that kind of revival of that old timeline. And you guys know we're infinite creator beings, right? So let's not bring that one back, right? Like let's allow that one to like just transpire as an extinct timeline, and we get to choose a role. We have a role in this with Gaia. We get to choose by where we place our time, attention, energy, focus, thoughts, our beliefs, and what we really heavily focus on. That creates our individual timelines, create the collective timeline along with Gaia and our co-inhabitants, right? So we get to have influence in this. So the more of us that are putting time and energy into the doom and gloom timelines, the more those become a potential possibility, right? So it's about, what do you want, right? What do you choose? What do you hold space for? What are you choosing in each now moment? How are you looking at your own consciousness and seeing, where have I adopted where, and where am I acting from that within my own consciousness, right? Where have I adopted the beliefs that, the worst case scenarios will always happen, because that in us creates it in the collective agreements, right? So we get to shift that now. You're empowered, right? You're empowered to change and choose something different. And yes, it takes a little bit of time. Yes, it takes devotion to our sacred practices, but you've been devoted to things for so long that don't serve you, right? So isn't it time now to make a shift? And if it's not, that's okay too. We honor you with where you are. And those of us who are ready will hold space for you for when you are ready to be in that place, right? Um, and I don't know. I feel really excited about where we are, even though the world looks like it's falling apart in many ways. There is an aspect of my soul that knows that this leads into the most amazing periods for humanity. And we are back. We are on the upswing back to our origin point, right? So, being created in a higher dimensional expression, this planet, um, we're back on the upswing, and all of us get to be a part of that. We get to be a part of the return to origin, and then going beyond, right? Within, however you want to look at it, right? So in the dimensional expressions of our multidimensionality, we get to choose what we place our focus on, while not resisting those aspects of us that we have deemed as other than, or that we have deemed as not good, or unwanted, undesirable, right? So every time we pull that back into us, into the wholeness, and we embrace it in our love light of soul, our source light, it allows it to be brought back into harmony and to elevate in frequency. So we get to embrace our third dimensional aspect of consciousness, multidimensionality, right? And bring it into that full wholeness that we always are, releasing those illusions, those illusionary partitions, so to speak, right? Between us and the other aspects of us. And we get to bring it all back in the wholeness. And this creates harmony within us, which creates harmony within the collective, which again affects positive change and forward momentum, so to speak, within our collective, right? So it raises the vibration of the planet. It brings in new frequencies and anchors them into our human expression of harmony, of unity, of unconditional love, these kinds of things. And we get to choose all of this. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you and to have had this beautiful roller coaster of a life, because my life has had a lot of intensity and contrast, but also a lot of beautiful, amazing, expansive moments. And getting to really be here and be incarnated with each and every one of you as we hold each other's hands and awaken to the infinite nature that is innate for each of us, remembering who we are at the core essence of our beingness. That's big, right? It's a huge moment for each of us, to where we get to allow it to unfold, receive those breadcrumbs, as my team says, and still support one another. And that's what the community I created is all about. That's what we're doing in there, is we're ex- expressing our experiences, supporting one another, uplifting each other, and holding space and expanding together. And I see these communities popping up everywhere. One of the reasons Sheila and I, well, first, we're soul sisters, but one of the reasons I love Sheila Seppi so much is I feel that in her. I feel you, Sheila. I feel your expansive connection to all of us, and that deep desire to bring us together and help us remember who we are through things like this and all of your other variety of creations. And actually, Sheila inspired me to take action with really bringing that community, Sheila and other people too, but really bringing the community that I've founded into existence, right? To step into that aspect of my purpose and missions that I've known since I was such a small child and have experienced in a variety of ways, setting me up for what I'm here to do, right? And we all get to really feel our resonance with how we're going to stay connected and how we're going to connect even deeper. Because in those deep connections that we remember we have, because they span multiple lifetimes, many expressions, right? In those deep soul connections that we have, bringing it back full circle to sort of where I started with all of the soul speak. Um, those people we feel the deepest connection with are our soul family, right? We are all soul family, even if we're not a part of the, you know, individuation soul groups. I don't know how to really describe those. I'm sure they have a name or a label. We're all connected, even if, you know, you're a part of another soul family tree. In the oversoul, we're all connected. So we feel those magnetic moments with one another. We feel that recognition of, I don't know how I know you, but I know you and I feel it in my soul. And every time we connect and we collaborate and we co create, then more of that magnetism builds. And all of the remembrances, it's sort of like falling like dominoes in a beautiful way, right? I think there's a reason why we love those domino things that people set up because that's how it feels inside of our soul, inside of our consciousness when we have those breadcrumbs connect, right? And when we have those connections we make with each other for the deep dives and the soul remembrances of our lives and expressions with each other and all of the things that we get to access in this moment. So, yeah, I just feel deeply grateful and I hope you've enjoyed this journey, Sheila. I don't know how much time I have. Am I early? It feels like I might be a little early. Um, but I really I really just feel so deeply grateful and thankful for each and every one of us that has come in this moment. And there is a beauty in now. And if you are one of the people that is feeling despair or anguish or apathy or shame or guilt or any of those deeply contrast filled, deeply dense states of being, find us. Find your soul team. Find your soul, communicate with your soul team. Find your soul tribe. Find the people, allow them to come into your world. Because as we make those deep connections, as we decide to live from our heart space, from our compassion with ourselves, we expand and we remember more of who we are. Invest in, yourself in the way of those sacred practices and sessions and services, whatever way you take, invest in that. And if you're feeling like you don't have it in you right now because you're filled with such despair, if you're filled with the apathy, reach out to someone that you know lights the soul fires, rekindles them. There's an entire massive global community of people that do this and that can help and hold space for you and help you shift perspectives back to your fire, your raging fire within your soul, being fully present in your world and your life and your experiences. And yeah, that's what I feel like I want to say. I'm not sure how much time I have, if I'm
You
really
know,
early.
Bridget, I really wanted to see if maybe we could get you to lead us in one of your very powerful activations that you do.
Yeah, that was what I was asking for. So I love it, Sheila. Like maybe I was picking up on you
Yay.
telepathically. uh, um, so what I would love for everyone to do, if you're in a safe place, if you are not driving, right, or doing something dangerous, is just to close your eyes, and hopefully, I feel like there's some people that are kind of racing to somewhere to sit down. Just sit somewhere comfortable. You don't have to lay down for this. Um, So I can't read the chat, just FYI for everyone that's chatting. I'll catch up with you as soon as this is over if I can see it. Sometimes when they drop us down, I can't see it. So Sherry, if you're in a tele, could screen grab the chat real quick for me, so I can see it, or right when I'm done, maybe. Just screenshot it for me so I can catch up with everyone. But okay, let's dive into this. So we're just going to close our eyes and take some deep, deep breaths. And it can be in through the nose and out through the mouth, or in through the mouth, out through the mouth. I don't have any hard and fast rules about meditation or activations. I feel like intention is key to everything. So, our intention with this is to raise our vibration. And as we breathe, I want you to imagine that you, with each breath, you are breathing in 50 times more of the crystalline diamond rainbow light. A lot of people call it diamond light. I love to describe it as you are air. And as you breathe this in, it's moving throughout your body. This is one of the higher light frequencies that we're accessing on the planet. It's not the only, but it's one of them. And as you exhale, it's exhaling as well, but it's like it's multiplying within you and around you. So with each inhale, it's moving throughout your body. This is pure, unconditional source love light. And it's intelligent because it is source. So it will move on its own. You don't have to make it do anything. You don't have to direct it. It will find those perceived blockages and those that are still not in the light of your awareness. It will begin to dissipate them. It will start to remove any blockages within all of your energetic fields. You might start to feel yourself getting lighter and brighter because of this. And this light moves through you. But it doesn't just move through you. It clears, cleanses, purifies, activates. And as you're breathing this light in and you're exhaling this light, you might observe that it's filling up the space that you're in as well, and continuing to move throughout all of your molecules of your beingness, both within your physical, energetic body, your etheric, your emotional, mental, spiritual, but it's also moving into all of the layers of you. And if you were to, with your eyes still closed, look down at your hands and your arms, you now see that you are emanating this beautiful crystalline diamond rainbow light of source. And if you were to look at the cells in your skin, you would see, look, see, feel, know, hear, sense in some way, whatever is right for you. You will observe that each cell is emanating the beautiful crystalline diamond rainbow light. Looking deeper into your muscles, you'll see they're emanating the light. Deeper into your blood, it is emanating the light, and everything within it. Your bones, and your ability to see, sense, know, heal, fear, or feel. Ooh, take that fear out, guys. Collective removal. Thank you. I don't know where that. We'll clear that in a minute too. That's actually happening with this. So as you see, sense, know, feel, hear, look deep into the cells. Observe into the cells. Each cell is emanating the beautiful crystalline diamond rainbow light. And as this is happening, let's go ahead and ask all of the high selves, all of the soul team collectives to step forward. And because that word just came out of my mouth, let's go ahead and clear it on a cellular level. clearing anything related to fear. Clearing. And let's go ahead and bring in, okay, the soul teams want to clear everything related to fear, anything that it has caused or connected to and within the cellular memory, fully and completely, from all of the energetic layers, all of the energetic systems and technology, bringing everyone back into their highest blueprint. Yes. And as we do this, throughout all of the blueprint layers, including the overlays and the holographic, we are bringing everything back to the highest blueprints of unconditional source love light within each of us. Honoring the fear and the expression of it for what it has brought into our awareness and the experiences we have gained through it, and allowing it to be removed at the cellular level, subatomic, and within. Atomic too, yes, thank you, teams, for that correction. And as we are doing this, allowing the fear to be transmuted within us, bringing in that transmutation of those aspects and energies that serve us in our highest, that are the most appropriate for us now, and for who we are choosing to become in each now moment, who we are choosing to be in each now moment. We are observing becoming lighter and brighter, finer and higher. And with this, observing the walls of our heart that we have created to bring in that illusionary protection from pain and suffering. We're allowing those walls to be transmuted into sovereign embodiment and pure unconditional source love light, allowing more of our soul to radiate into our bodies, filling them up with so much light that we become brighter and brighter, finer and higher. And as we become brighter, finer and higher and lighter, we also feel ourselves anchoring in to this beautiful human expression that we're in, allowing ourselves to ground in these beautiful soul love light frequencies that we all are, bringing more of our infinite creator consciousness into this expression, but anchoring it in so that it feeds and supports and uplifts our lives individually and ripples out into the collective as well. And as we are allowing our light to stay very condensed in our body, it begins to radiate naturally from it. So as it is super bright, as if it is woven tightly together within our body, all of the light, it begins to radiate from us naturally and effortlessly. We become so bright. And in this love light that we are, in this soul essence that we are sovereign. There is nothing in existence that can usurp our sovereign, divine, free will. We have the power within us to transform, to create, to choose how we want to play in this world with one another and ourselves. And in this empowerment, there's no need for concern of what other beings can do to us because we are sovereign, allowing our love light to ripple out, raising our vibration, assists us to be invisible to those things that we're no longer resonant. Our entire world shifts as we bring this in as a sacred practice, because our inner landscape begins to transform. And for those of you that are feeling your consciousness shift as you're doing this, welcome that newness in. You get to choose what you want to place your attention and focus on now. And let's just take a brief moment, maybe not so brief, to focus on our hearts again, placing our attention and focus there, allowing that beautiful sun of a heart light to expand and expand and expand, become brighter and brighter. And as it does, our higher heart chakras begin to ignite. All of our aligned chakras from the crystalline diamond rainbow light are charging up in whatever way is appropriate for them. Our higher heart chakra becomes brighter and brighter. And you might begin to observe that we, with a mere intention, can connect to everyone on the planet. Let's start with ourselves, everyone that will be in this experience with us at any moment, any now moment. We're all connecting high heart chakras together. Our high selves and our soul teams are connecting in with us. We're creating this beautiful light net of hearts, high hearts, connected all the way around our beautiful, beautiful planet. And as we do, all of the high selves, all of the members of the soul team collective step forward, connect again. So this web is becoming tightly woven. And as it becomes more tightly woven, it becomes brighter and brighter and brighter. So we're in this beautiful, almost spider web of light connecting all of us. And now let's hold the intention that we are connecting to the high heart chakras and hearts of every human on the planet. And as we do, they're becoming brighter and brighter and brighter. And within this connection, this activation that we are offering for the high selves to choose, there is remembrance of who we are, the core essence of our being. And there's remembrance of our unity, the unity field of us all connecting. And you might observe that even though we've connected with all of the humans on the planet, we're also, just by natural ability, connected with all of the co-inhabitants, from the most micro to the macro. And we're also deeply, deeply connected to Gaia. And in this depth of connection, this unity field of love light, there is remembrance of who we are. There's an ability to hold space for one another and for the dream of the new earth that we all deeply desire to create in this now moment. Hold space for that now. Allow it to ripple into the consciousness of all within the Earth Collective as appropriate. Focus on what you desire rather than what you would like to exclude. How does connecting with one another feel? Perhaps there's a deep feeling of belonging, of being connected in a way that is uplifting and supportive. A transparency between us. A depth of connection that allows us to see each other truly. Our full faces, our full expressions. honoring one another simply because of that deep connection, honoring the nuances, the uniqueness of each of us and our cultures, bringing it into oneness, a deep love of our planet, and an understanding, an inner standing that our creations are designed to support and uplift not only us, but our beautiful planet, all of our co-inhabitants within the harmony of all that we are together. What does it look like? Perhaps buildings are transformed into harmonious shapes that support the frequencies of us and our planet and all of our co-inhabitants. More of this, please. Asking the high selves and the soul team collectives of all who are in this moment with us, in all the different nows, to magnify and amplify these collective intentions, assisting us to integrate and anchor them within our human expressions, allowing them to ripple out into the collective at large. And as we do this, allow yourself to feel the deep love being expressed from each of us, the compassion for all of those who haven't yet remembered who they are, the knowingness that what we are here doing it's in the now. All we're choosing to be, we are serving our missions and purposes in each now moment. Take a deep breath, and as we anchor these frequencies into ourselves, bringing in more of our soul light into our human expression, take note of the expansion of your consciousness, the expansion of your heart, the deep knowingness of our connection in the unity field with one another. And remember that you can always do things like this on your own. You don't need me or anyone else to guide you in this. But if you want that, there's plenty of us here. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. Spend a moment in gratitude, feeling grateful for the depth of connection, the expansion of your heart, the increased depth of your high knowingness, dropping into your human expression. You are so loved, beautiful, beautiful family. Beautiful walk-in family, beautiful Starseed family. I love you very much. I am honored to be in this beautiful human expression with you and all the other ones we're sharing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bridget. I do have a couple questions, but I wanted to thank you for that beautiful activation and for helping to anchor the energy that we're really building today. This is really an important event, especially for the walk-in soul experiencers, because it's our first event. But more than that, it is really showing just how many walk-ins are out there, how many people are opening up and embracing the aspects of themselves that may not be exactly like their next door neighbor or even within their own friends group. So thank you so much for everyone in your comments, and for being here, and for all the walk-ins that are here with us today. Now, I want to go ahead and move into the Q&A, and there is a question Do those already over there, I assume on the other side, dream? Do they have lucid dreams? Are those independent of 3D lucid dreams or simultaneous with those originating by physical versus non-physical beings?
Okay, that is a big one. Okay, so Sheila, if you can help me unpack that question real quick, so I kind of
Okay,
got a
so
little
let's
lost in
take
it.
it one
So
at a
if we're,
time. First,
yeah,
do those already over, I guess, on the other side, dream?
so what's interesting about the blue-gray world, when we talk of on the other side, this is just a continuation of our human experience here, and it happens um, based on our choices in this life. So if we believe that there is, it happens in many ways, right? So there are essentially heavens created. There are essentially hellscapes created, but there's also the blue-gray world. And the blue-gray world is a furthering of this human expression, but kind of in an Alice in Wonderland sort of vibe to it. So do they dream? Yes and no, not in the same way that we do in the fourth dimensional dreamscapes and the astrals, because they're in an astral experience, so to speak. Um, do they have aspirations and desires? Yes. Do they create, do they come together and create their own little communities? Yes. But there is an aspect of this that they have attachment and resistance to things. They're stuck in guilt or shame or different things like that. Sometimes in rage and all of the things that we're being invited to move through within our consciousness now, those sorts of things can create this second phase human experience for us. But also the belief in a heaven or hell and whatever that looks like for us, we create that as a furthering of our human expression as well. Um, so you can choose, right? If you want to go spend some time in a heaven, do it. I know that the high selves will pull us out of the hellscapes that are created. They're much, generally much shorter, quote quote. But do they astral project? No, but they don't have to because they're in astral form essentially, right? So they're in their what we would call like the astral form, right? So they are able to project themselves into our version of reality when they learn how to do that, right? But yeah, thank you for that part of the question. Okay, Sheila, what was part two?
Okay, I assume when they say those, they're referring to the dreams. Are those independent of 3D lucid dreams or are they simultaneous? And then in parentheses, an example is with those originated by physical versus non-physical beings.
Okay, so that's where I got lost, I think, last time. So if we're asking if they can project into our lucid dreams and we can experience them in our OBEs and astral travel, absolutely. A lot of times when we go into an out of body experience, we are, it's very easy for us to be in the blue gray world. And you'll observe that you're in the blue gray world. One of the ways to tell the other side is that things continue to shift and change and you're not lucidly doing that, right? And that can happen in a lucid dream as well. So that's more about becoming conscious in your astral experience during dream time, which is what dreams are essentially. Sort of a different way of looking at it, but yeah, they can definitely come in. A lot of times when you're in a lucid dream or an astral projection or even an OBE, your greatest fears will present to you first. So as you first start doing it, and when you face that and move through it, then that will stop and you'll have a lot more playtime in those experiences. I don't experience that in consciousness traveling, which is similar to astral projection and similar to out of body experience. But I know that it is experienced, and I've had those experiences myself in those types of things. Now, I'm not sure where the non-being and being comes into this, Sheila. Did you figure that out? So I
Um,
think,
they're just talking about physical versus non-physical, and possibly because this is at the time when you were talking about walk-ins and how your experience happened, they may be referring to those beings that were associated with you. But let's
Mm.
go ahead. We'll move to the second question. It says, who or what decides when exiting is appropriate or necessary? And this is referring to, of course, the soul.
Mm-hmm. What's really interesting about that question is I have been viewing people's life paths since I was a teenager. It's something that happens automatically sometimes when I meet a person, and it's generally um, our high self connecting us in showing me that connection of how I can be of service and what my role potentially is with this person, right? Whomever that person is. And there are exit points all over. We have so many exit points set up for ourselves. It is almost ridiculous, right? But there are also periods I learned through my experience and through really deep diving into it once I had done a lot of healing on all of that, right? With the help of my what I now know to be beautiful soul infused expression. There are moments when we're not allowed, right? And I experienced that. There was not an exit point around, right? This was a free will choice. There's a lot of debate about free will and divine planning and all of these things, but the way I experience it is we have a lot of free will while we're here, and there also is a divine plan, and we get to map our way to all of it, right? I was mapping a path that my high self and soul said no. And I having grown up with direct connection with angelics, it felt like something different than the angelics that I've spent a lot of my life in contact with. Something more vast that came in and slapped my soul like a ruler and said, absolutely not. And if you know me really well, you know I can be what I like to call independent, which is my nice way of saying a little bit hard-headed, a little bit I do what I want, a little bit all of those things that a lot of us starseeds come in with that rebellious blueprint, right? So the soul slap was definitely necessary, as was the booming angel voice within everything, every aspect of my being. And I feel like our high selves are amazing, and that's where the exit points come in, right? If you have an exit point, we have a lot of them that we can choose. We have a lot of them that we can choose experiences that lead us to them, right? But we also have paths that lead us in different directions, right? So I feel that my exit points are few and far between right now and have been since then. I have observed a handful of them. Most of the time, we're not conscious of them. And I've chosen differently each time, right? So I think when you're asking that question, that's who is, I don't know, source, high selves, souls, the oversoul. I don't know I don't have the answers to everything, but I feel like it's that deep part of us that is source, that is connected to soul, that chooses when the exit points are available for us and when they're not. And in my case, in that moment, it was not, and I'm deeply grateful for that because I love this life, and I've definitely shifted so much since that experience. And thank you for that question.
All right. And then we have another question. Is there a portal open today? If so, does it hold Lyrian Sirian frequencies?
There are a ton of portals open. So this is a portal planet. We also have portal technology, and we can open them and close them consciously and unconsciously. But this planet has portals that open and close constantly. This universe has portals that open and close constantly. There are portals that are continually open, that directly connect with Gaia and with us. And there are micro portals that open in nature all around us. They're all the way up to continent sized portals that open. So it depends on what and yes, we are deeply connected with Lyra. We're deeply connected with Arcturus. Our soul family, those are us in a different expression, right? So it's our soul, it's our multidimensional expressions outside of the human earth experience. And we are connected with them. but they also do have portals. We have portals on Earth that connect with those different star systems in the multidimensional um, aspects as appropriate for those particular portals. Some portals um, face or open to all the dimensional expressions. Others have particular, we can think of it like a birthday cake, even though it's not, particular dimensions that they connect to. There's an enormous portal in the Orion system, enormous, that connects to all the different dimensions. There are portals that connect to the Arcturians. There are portals that connect, and there are we'll call it multi-star nation portals, or multi-races species, multi-dimensional, multicultural, for lack of a better way to describe our galactic, cosmic, and ethereal families. So the Earth is no different. And as our vibration raises individually and as a collective, we'll observe more and more of this. And yes, our galactic families, our cosmic and ethereal families can open portals, utilize them for certain things to assist us. Everyone's helping right now. It's one big, beautiful family gathering, so to speak, that we're all starting to remember is happening right now. And so, yeah, I know that the Pleiadians, the Lyrans, the Sirians, the Andromedans, the Arcturians, all the different family members that we have, right? I know I'm forgetting a lot of different names. They're all helping us. And yeah, we use portals a lot. Even the Angelics use portals to assist with things here. So yes, if you're asking if you are sensing a Lyran connection to one or more than one of the portals, trust that knowingness.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Bridget, thank you so much. And I was wondering if you could be so kind as to tell people how they can reach you. If you'll afterwards put your information in the chat about your website, that would be amazing. And also, if you could, kind of give us a few closing thoughts for today.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you, Sheila. So I am available at my name, BridgetReneeHolliday.com. I actually have a free gifts link that I'll put in the chat for you guys that has a few things on it. And you can work with me, collaborate with me in multiple ways. So I offer beyond quantum healing hypnosis sessions. Generally, these sessions with me are a way for you to connect with your high self and your soul team collective. They tend to be very star-seeded, galactic, cosmic, and ethereal. We dive deep into our multidimensionality in those. But you can also connect with me through a one-on-one session, which is sort of like a channeled healing kind of mixture, whatever is appropriate for you. And the community that I'm so deeply grateful for that I have founded, called Ascension Catalysts. And you can come connect with us as we connect really, really deeply and expand and explore and remember who we are and have the most amazing experiences and events in there. I am so happy to collaborate in this way with you. And I think the main thing that I would say as a final word to you, a final heart expression to you, is enjoy your journey. Be in joy, be in play, follow your heart's highest joy, highest excitement, and remember that we can chase our tails in the healing journey for a lifetime and still feel like we have things to change or release. So really anchor in all of that expansion that you have and take time to enjoy it. Take time to live in the moment and choose and stand in your sovereign expression of the love light that you are. And that's what I would say. And I'm so excited to connect with whoever wants to connect in the way of sessions and community.